Alright, so it is Tuesday, March 12th. This is day 12 of my detox. And I just actually looked at my first post about a month ago when I was kind of preparing for it and just kind of go over some of the goals and the reasons for doing it and kind of looking back on that. So the money has definitely been saved. That's the nice thing. So yes, there's been the odd cup of coffee, but it really hasn't cost me anything. So yesterday I did spend $1.50 at work for a cup of coffee. Why? I don't know, actually. It was one of those things. It was more convenience, not a really urge. And you know, it's not one thing that will keep myself or really anybody who's interested in something like coffee or their own personal addiction. It's not one thing that will keep them going towards or going away from their choice, right? There's usually a few, and so not surprisingly, there's, you know, convenience is one thing for me. That's if it's there's a whole bunch of it. It's kind of speaking to me, and it just hits me at the right time. It's tough, right? So the good news is I recognize that, and I just try and okay, how am I going to avoid that next time? Pretty much. So so far so good. I just had some herbal tea this morning. So after 12 days of this detox, I'm getting used to not having coffee. I mean, yes, I do still have the odd cup, but I think there was one day, I want to say Friday. Yeah, I had 2 cups of coffee, one in the morning, one in the night. And the next day I didn't have any, and I was okay, right? And then the following day, the Sunday, I think I had, at least I started out with some herbal tea. So it's not this overwhelming urge at this point. It's more of it's really getting into the habit to just, this is what I've always done. So, you know, how do I address and change those hardwired habits? So, and this is an ongoing thing. So, the other thing was I expected in the past to have a lot more energy, and I'm not feeling that as much this time. So usually about 8 to 10 days after I start the detox, I usually feel a bit of a sort of a sense of euphoria, for lack of a better term, but I don't know why that is. A couple of theories. Number one, in the past when I've done a detox, I think my starting diet has been worse. Yes, I go to Starbucks, and yes, sometimes I have a muffin or a treat or whatever, but generally speaking, we tend to eat what's called ketogenic for the most part, so a lot of fat in our diet, and not a ton of carbs already. So maybe that's part of it. Is the starting base is a little bit higher. So the other thing is I do wake up a lot of mornings at 4 in the morning to go work at 5. So maybe I'm already feeling that, but it's just different because I'm bloody working at 5 a.m. for God's sake. So there. But anyways, I do feel better. I feel lighter, and I know I lost a little bit of weight, but not much. But I feel lighter. Just if you've eaten a big meal or you've eaten a few big meals, especially if they've got some carbs, you get that feeling of like, oh, I'm full now, this is awesome, it feels great. But then it sits there, excuse me, and it just feels a little bit heavy. So don't have as much of that. So all these aches and pains I have are very noticeable now, and I don't know whether it's the diet sort of hides some of that stuff or there's deposits. I don't know how the whole thing works. All I know is, generally speaking, when I get rid of all these foods, any of these aches and pains are more prominent because there's, you know, some would say, you know, the food you eat is a bit of medicine, and some good medicine and some bad medicine. So I guess we're getting rid of the bad medicine, and so I'm looking at that, thinking, how am I going to address all that? And my mind goes in a million different places because, for example, I noticed like my rotator cuff set of muscles here. That's really bothering me lately. So I had a really crappy sleep the other day, just trying to sleep, not just on the shoulder, but when you sleep the other side, the arm just kind of lays there and to one side, and it's very difficult to find a good spot. So good position. So there's that, and then my back has been a bit of an issue since last June, so I have to be wary of that. My knee, I've noticed it's a little bit, just always the aches and pains of being, wear and tear over the years. So trying to figure out how to deal with that. Is it physio? Is it massage therapy? Is it just going to work out? I got the diet sort of under control here, so that's a good part of it. But the next step of that, and probably doesn't help that it's bloody cold out still, so that's not good on the joints. So we'll see how to go through that. So today's my day off. I got 3 days off here in a row. Depending on how the weather goes, I might get my snow tires off. So, and I'm not sure about today. I don't feel too bad about today, but I will probably have to sort of figure out something for later on. What that is, I'm not sure. I just again, we talked about the habit, right? Just there's a habit. If I don't have anything to do, I'm gonna go and probably get a cup of coffee. And so, just trying to recognize that and not fall into the trap. So, we're almost halfway through. This is what, 40% of the month here. So, I think I'm doing okay. I'd like to incorporate a bit more fish. I think that's the one thing I've done in previous detoxes, which I haven't done as much. And I just found when I looked at the grocery store, it's bloody expensive, and we didn't have any in the freezer. So I might have to bite the bullet and go to the fish store and get a couple nice salmon or something like that, because that usually I can eat that over about 3 or 4 days. It's a nice meal for the wife and I. So we'll see how the paycheck is and whatever else I have to pay for. So. But yeah, that would be one thing I definitely want to encourage adding, because if I'm eating a fair amount of meat, but if I'm not working out, it's going to just kind of sit there, right? So I only need so much protein. I do work, and some of it's labor intensive, but a lot of it's also sitting in front of a computer. So, anyways, so those are the things where I'm at, what I'm looking forward to, and yeah, we seem to be doing these videos about every 2 or 3 days, and that seems about right. If I don't have a whole lot to report, I'm not really a whole lot motivated to get on and tell you nothing. So there. Anyways, we'll do it again.